ink cartridge. Greetings, greetings. Greetings. I received some questions. I'm going through everything, y'all. I've been gone for a minute, but I'm not going. I didn't think I was going. Greetings. So y'all know I have to come with it because, you know, when people rat on you in real life, like, it was one thing to say he ratted on these people. And then found these live people he ratted on. And then he ratted on me for real. After I found the 2 live people that he wore the wire on, he pulled God on Jesus on me for real. And he just combobulated. Sure, they trying to shake me. Not possible. So, someone wanted to know about the paperwork with the footnotes on it. I had got a question. They said they couldn't see it, they didn't see anything with it. So I have decided I have just went bought me a fresh ink cartridge. I'm gonna share here. And we about to get into it. Cause you know, it's all right here. Sorry I look so far away, but so I have up the paperwork. This is the paperwork with the footnotes. So I want to print it so I can put it on paper for you. Let's see. Greetings, everyone. How y'all doing? It's my birthday. Baby, it gets real in the field, you know? Told on YouTube to me. I'm glad told on me to YouTube. Let me rephrase that. Told them people, I stole his content, whatever, and was supposed to go to federal court and get federal paperwork stating that's his content. Of course, that didn't happen, so the strike went away. But in the meantime, you know, I was handling other businesses and had things going on, so I just decided to handle it all and come back and give it to y'all. 1 second, because I'm trying to get the front of the work, because you know, people be having questions and I want to answer them right. Hey, OG Laundry. Hey, greetings, y'all. I missed y'all so much. People be drama, baby. I need to pull up that stuff to them. Let me see. Let me see what the pull up this little stuff that I had going on. This is so sad. Grown ass man telling God on Jesus, he worse than grandchildren. You hear me? Got grandchildren. Happy New Year's, baby. I missed you more. I promise y'all I missed y'all more. I'm like, this fool here just so shaking in any kind of way he know how. But I sure contested it and made him put it I tested that bit. Made him put his statement that he wrote about his content where his mouth was, and you know, he couldn't cash out on it. Let me go back, because this was probably in the October sometime that he wanted to be a tattletale. And still talking. Every time I go on YouTube and put up something on the front page, And I don't even follow him. Don't even subscribe to that foolishness. But paperwork coming up, so we're just gonna share this. Give me a moment. Let me see when this was. Let's see. I see some messages. Y'all want to ask me something? Let me see. Your video, 10/21, October 21st, 2022. So I received an email. Your video has been taken down from YouTube. Killa stoned baby mama on one incriminating murder that she caught on Terrance YouTube Live. Okay. So it says, hi, Extraordinary Mystique. Due to a copyright takedown notice that we received, we had to take down your video from YouTube. Says video title, Killa stoned baby mama on one incriminating murder that she caught on Terrance YouTube Live. Takedown issued by Terrance Williams. This means that your video can no longer be played on YouTube. You received a copyright strike. You now have one copyright strike. If you get multiple copyright strikes, we'll have to disable your account to prevent that from happening. Please don't upload videos containing copyrighted content that you aren't allowed to use. So they let me view the details and all of this. So, of course, I answered and sent him something back. So I put, it was a counter notification. And I had, after 10 U.S. business days, if we don't get a response from the claimant, your content will be reinstated to YouTube. Also, the associated penalties on your channel will be cleared. Keep in mind that a counter notification is a legal request. As a result, YouTube must process the counter notification in accordance with the law. The process can take some time, so we kindly ask for your patience during the process. Y'all knew I was gonna comment on that, right? And did. See how this goes. Okay. So this is the one with the footnotes. On the other one. Okay, y'all. So when I actually answered the counterclaim, I told on him. I said the claimant violated the rights of the deceased person's family by having a conversation with the associated killer of the family member without the family's permission, and took the content down because of a family member of the deceased commented. I then received permission to share the video since it was no longer a copyright issue because of the claimant removing the video. The claimant's entire channel promotes past killings and gang violence that the deceased spoken of in the present video, and my child's father being spoken of, and many others from the early 1990s and ongoing, which has made me and my son receive present death threats and retaliations after my son was shot 6 times and left near death, which has resulted in an ongoing trial for the gang member who did the shooting. So, I answers back, So I decided, I put in all the names. Oh yeah, I answered his ass. And I swear under penalty of perjury that I have a good faith belief the material was removed due to a mistake or misidentification of the material to be removed or disabled. Okay? So if when they want to go to war, you take them to war. And, yeah, why he's telling God on Jesus. Look like he should have been able to get the paperwork or something. But anyway, I put this paperwork on, I put this on paper to help you all out because someone said that they read all of the pages and they didn't see the footnotes or anything about cash money or baby or whatever they were saying. So I am going to help you see the footnotes. So, 3 and 4, I don't know which paperwork you actually had, but this paperwork right here has the footnotes. 4, 5, and 6. Okay, so I don't know actually what paperwork was actually let's see. Okay, so this was the new trial based on new discovered evidence, but right here at the bottom, these are the footnotes. So if you see here, you see Brian Williams, CI's brother, Brian Williams. It says, exhibits from Mr. Taylor's trial will hereinafter be referred to as TR Exhibit to the CI's brother, Brian Williams, colloquially, however, called Birdman or Baby, is an entertainment mogul whose massive wealth is matched only by his notoriety. Okay, his notoriety. So that is what that says. That's one footnote right here. The other footnotes. So all of these were the footnotes. I'm not sure why you didn't say, the person didn't say it on their paperwork, but it was actually there. And it says, Cetaro, Baby Money, inside the early years of Birdman's Cash Money Records, Forbes, May 5th, 2015, available at, and it told a story. And the story wasn't that nice. Another footnote says, Encino Ahmed, the 10 most gangster hip hop label executive, Complex Magazine, October 18, 2010, available at www. And then it says, for example, in a portion of the transcript that was not read to the jury, Mr. Pickney explains that he believes Mr. Taylor and Luck were sufficiently shocked and impressed by the CI's friendship with Mr. Pickney that they decided not to pursue an altercation. I bet you S. Dot like, that's Baby's brother. And then Luck be like, word, Timmy fuck with Baby's brother. He like, what the fuck? Like, that's why he probably fell back, you know. It's probably like chill. So that's in the footnotes. And it was used that they're saying that the CI, which is, you know, we know who the CI is, they were actually using their brother's gang affiliation to save, you know, Timothy Pickney from being uh, dealt with, you know, being done anything by Sean Taylor. So it was all gang affiliation, and we know that Cash Money is all about gang affiliation. That's why everybody goes down. You know, they just go down. They either be dead or in jail. Just like all the rap groups. It's nothing new. You know, nothing new. Let me see. So these were used as the footnotes. And it says neither the CI nor Mr. Pickney testified at the trial. The defense did not have the opportunity to cross-examine either man as to the circumstances surrounding the recording or as to the substance of the recording. Throughout the trial, Mr. Pickney was represented by counsel. Based on the substance of the recording, Mr. Taylor and his counsel believed that if Mr. Pickney recalled, his testimony would be consistent with the story told on the recording. Factually, there was no reason to believe otherwise. So this is, yeah, this came from, like, I had to dig, really actually dig for this because they had so many stills, you know, so I don't know why it wasn't on any other paperwork, but it's real. Like, I didn't fix anything. This all come from actuals and factuals. And this is actually the transcript of the criminal cause for trial before the honorable judge, where it's told word for word that Terrance, let me get to the page. Let me see his name. So they're saying, Sam, then the government you'll need to have your witness lined up to go, all right, so I'll wait to hear further from the parties with respect to the NYPD's decision to close. Okay, so let me get to it. I already read that a while ago when you first mentioned Terrance. Oh, you did? Yeah. Someone had a question about it. They asked about the footnotes because they didn't see anything that was, I guess, related to Cash Money, but anybody who knows. Did you see the footnotes when you read it? The paperwork? There's footnotes right here at the bottom of the page. This paperwork right here, this other paperwork that I have is the transcript. So eventually in the transcript, you know, I went to fact check. Yes, we both caps. Hello, into deep. Let's go, baby. One thing about it, we're gonna be actual and factual. We don't play. We can't even have. We won't even play on nobody's top like that. This document right here actually. Let me see. No, that's not what I want. Before I go to printing up, because I like to just get to the point. So, this is the document that talk about the 3,500, okay? And it looks, if you pull it up, it looks something like, it starts to look like this. 1 second. It must be all printed backwards, but it looks something like this. declare the proceedings. Okay. So in the proceedings, it begins to read, hey, baby, hey. I've been chilling, Greg B, Greg B. What's up, what's up, what's up? Because I think Greg B is mine. What's up? I've been around and yeah. Uh-huh. Anyway, the proceedings say word for word and verb for verb, Greg B. Ha ha. Told you that's the spiritual gift on me. You know, it's just intuitive. You know, mine is Cleo. You heard me? It's just something about it. You know, spirit just come to me real quick and be like, hey, yeah, But I like stays. You stay right here. You know. So they said, so it goes word for word with the proceedings. So they're gonna say who said what, who said what, and who name on the front, whether it's the court, Mr. Russell, whatever. So it began, I'll just start at the court. Good morning to you all. Well, there are a number of matters that we need to address before we bring in the jury. I do note that all of the jurors were here early. However, the marshals have asked that I address certain transportation. So let me get to the point, because they talk about this 3,500. So it says, I'll just start right here. It's so long. Oh my God. So, Mr. Herman, whoever, judge, unfortunately, very unfortunately, the defense is in a position this morning to ask your honor for a lengthy adjournment of the trial, and we do it knowing full well that this trial has been scheduled for a long period of time. And we spent a lot of time picking a jury, and some members of the trial teams have personal issues that they would like to get resolved. But the reason we are making this application, Judge, is Your Honor recalls that it was agreed, and Your Honor pressed the government, and the government agreed that on June 30th we would get the 3,500. I think the next day, July 1st, we got it. We received what was purported to be the 3,500. Now, I think we all recognize sometimes things are left out. We got some last night about a late witness, and we recognize that that is part of the practice. We made certain representations to Your Honor last week based on what we thought was the 3,500, and we spent time with Mr. Taylor because Your Honor appreciates that we can't give him the 3,500. We have to sit there with him at MDC, which is time consuming, but we do it because he needs to look at it. So we spent the day on Thursday at MDC with Mr. Taylor going over what we thought was the 3,500. And we spent Friday, Saturday, and half of yesterday again reviewing it and preparing to try the case. We were told sometime yesterday morning there was a phone conversation between one of the members of the prosecution team and Mr. Ronaldo that there was an additional 3,500, but that it wasn't ready. So we had planned to see Mr. Taylor yesterday at MDC, and we did, and we went over to see him for several hours. We went over more, the existing 3,500 in our opening, and we thought that we knew the scope of the case was. So the court asked, can I just interrupt you for 1 second so that I get a point of clarification? So you were told that there was going to be additional 3,500, but it wasn't ready. And you had not received that at the time that you went to see Mr. Taylor. Is that correct? So the man said, that's my understanding. Mr. Ronaldo had the phone conversation. Okay, so the judge very simply says, Judge, very simply, on Sunday morning there was a disc for us to pick up at the government office. It was a disc containing government exhibits, and I went down there Sunday morning, I guess about 10 o'clock, on my way to MDC, and I picked up that disc. A few minutes after I had left the office, the government's office, with the disc, and I was on my way to MDC, I got a call from Miss whoever, asking if I was still there because there was going to be another production of 3,500 material, and that it wasn't ready now. And I just explained I was on my way to the jail, and when we were done at the jail with our visit, I would call her. And if it was available, both Mr. Herman and myself could come back and get it. And that's exactly what we did. I think we were at the jail until about 1:30. So the court asked, so did you come back to the office and pick it up or no? The man said, we came back to the government's office about 2:15 after we had seen our client, and I think Mr. Herman can speak. So Mr. Herman said, we had a conversation with one of the members of the prosecution team, but she gave us several discs. I went back to my office and opened up the disc, and what I found was, I can show it to you, I can show it to your honor, because it took me 3 hours to print it out in 2 reams of paper, about 1,000 pages, of handwritten notes of the case agent. Now, last week, we got much less material, which was labeled case agent, labeled whatever this man name is. And we thought, well, now we know what Mr. Whoever notes are all about. We now learned yesterday, I guess, about 6 o'clock at night, when I printed this out, which I have to do because there's no way for my client to begin to read it, that what we got and we were told were Mr. Natter's notes. No, they weren't Mr. Natter's notes. They were Detective Vigiani's notes. Yesterday at 6 o'clock, and I will show your honor, we have about 1,000 pages of, with all due respect to Agent McNally, poor handwriting. I mean, he didn't have he didn't have my 3rd grade teacher. He didn't take penmanship. If he did, he can certainly go to medical school based on his handwriting. I will show it to you, to your honor. So we're gonna go on here. I'm gonna read it. I will show it to your honor. I started reading this last night and I realized I can't read this. I can't make out the handwriting. I don't know which witness we are talking about. The court, I'm happy to take your word for it, but if you can just give me a sample to look at. Mr. Herman, may I approach judge? The court, of course. The court, there are grand jury transcripts, but there's still a substantial amount of grand jury transcripts. Mr. Herman, yes, that's the first exhibit, Judge. The court, yes, I just took a look at the representative sampling. Mr. Herman, so this is the defense concern. It's going to take us a long time to decipher this information. It involves many of the witnesses in the case. Some of them are going to testify or scheduled to testify today or tomorrow. Assuming we can understand this and we don't have to sit with our client at MDC and give him an opportunity to go over this, which is countless hours, Judge, and I regret sitting here and having to report this to the court, but it falls on the defense now, and I can't effectively represent Mr. Taylor when I can't read half of the 3,500. I certainly can't absorb it. I can't be ready to cross-examine a witness today or tomorrow. He hasn't seen it. So I know what else to do. So I don't know what else to do. And I don't know how this happened. I don't know how the government turns over what they said is 3,500 from one witness and the case agent. I don't know if it was yesterday or the day before. Said no. Here are my notes. I don't know. But that's what we are left with. So I don't think I can provide constitutionally effective assistance to Mr. Taylor, like to get this case going. I'm in the unfortunate position to ask the court for more time. I don't know what else to do because I can't read this stuff. The court, counsel for Mr. Pickney, Mr. Jackson. Judge, I agree wholeheartedly with Mr. Herman. Counsel for Mr. Taylor has said, with respect to Mr. Pickney, here's the prejudice we are talking about. The case agent, and the case agent, as I understand, has been put forth in going to introduce arguably the single most important piece of evidence, the tape, the court, the MDC tape, Mr. Jasper, the MDC tape. So you have to be careful anytime you are cross-examining a witness, but particularly when you are cross-examining a federal agent. So you don't stumble and mumble into opening up doors and what have you. We know all of the war stories that exist out there. You need to be able to know what has transpired with respect to that witness and the entirety of the case. And I understand that there is some Williams interviews in there as well. That is, for the record, Terrance Williams, who is the person who is wired up with a body wire on the MDC tape. So there's an enormous amount of substantial prejudice as to both defendants and particularly as to Mr. Pickney, because we will have to make strategic and tactical decisions as to how to frame questions should we decide to cross-examine the case agent who is going to be putting in this recording, rather than, of course, the CI or CS. However, you want to characterize Mr. Williams, since Mr. Williams is purportedly not going to be called. So it presents extraordinary challenges for Pinckney's counsel with respect to cross-examine of the case agent. The court, I would like to hear from the government why this happened, especially given the fact this trial date was set a long time ago. We had many discussions about the turning over of 3500 material. I set specific dates upon which 3500 material and any other material had to be turned over. Just last week, we had discussions about it. And given that what is at issue here are the notes of the case agent, I don't see how the government can say that you just learned that these notes existed or that they were just made available to you, given that the case agent has been helping you. I assume prepared for this case and has been present at most of the pretrial conferences and certainly during jury selection in this case. I don't know who wants to address this. Mr. Whoever, Miss Fired. Okay, so that's the prosecutors. So the man, Mr. Armature, said, yes, Your Honor, we believe that the case agent's notes were in production to be produced. The court, I don't know what that means. What did you mean that they were in production? Mr. Armature, well, we received copies of them and we believe that they were going to be incorporated into the 3500. The court, when? Mr. Armature, it was written I think within a couple of days of June 30th, and we realized that they hadn't been, and it was an error. The court, when? Mr. Armature, I think I realized it on probably July. I can't remember the date, Your Honor. It was probably either the 3rd or the 4th, and we attempted to put it in production immediately to get it to the defense counsel, and we acknowledged and recognized that it was an error on our report, and we apologize for that. The court, I'm sorry, but I have to say that it is all that I can do to contain myself over the sheer sloppiness of the way that the government has been handling this case. This is a very serious case. All criminal cases are serious, but given the stakes here, given the nature of the charges here, this has been a death-eligible case twice as far as Mr. Taylor was concerned. Twice a death-eligible case, and the government knew more than a year ago that at least Mr. Taylor wanted to go to trial. So more than a year ago, when we had a trial date set, if memory serves me, Mr. Taylor was originally scheduled to go to trial right about the time that Hurricane Sandy hit. And that was around October, November of 2012, correct? Mr. Ronaldo, that's correct, Judge. Then there was a delay, the court. There was a delay. Mr. Ronaldo, January 2nd, 2013 trial date. The court, right, but we were set to go to trial. The jury instructions were all set to go to trial. So why the government didn't already have the case agent's notes prepared and duplicated and that 3500 material ready, I don't understand, because the defense did get some 3500 material in anticipation of the trial when it was just Mr. Taylor and when the indictment did not include the charges that now are concluded against Mr. Pinckney. So it was somewhat more streamlined case. Now, notwithstanding that, the government still should have the bulk of this case agent's notes already turned over to the defense. And why you waited to copy the 3500 material knowing how voluminous it was? You got 2 boxes of 3500 material that we got from the government, which I assume does not include that the defense just got, which looks, I think, Mr. Herman described it pretty accurately. It looks like close to 2 reams of paper, and while the government waited until 2 days to put such a voluminous package of 3500 materials together for distribution before the deadline, and also knowing that there was a holiday weekend intervening, knowing that we had jury ready to come here to start today that should have been prepared a month ago so that the care could have been taken. I don't know. In my day, when I did a trial, I went through each page to make sure that each page of 3500 material in the state system Rosario material was turned over. So what this tells me is that you just turned over batches of material without even checking it. I've said it before and I will say it again. I do not believe in trial by sandbag, and that is not fair. Pouring a little bit more salt into the wound that has already been open here. Last night at 1 o'clock in the morning, at one of my bits of insomnia, I checked my emails and I got an ECF bounce with some filings from the government indicating that the government was moving for the non-disclosure of of a pre-sentence report of a witness that they just learned on July 3rd would be available today to testify, and providing a pre-sentence report and a letter and responding a letter which indicated in accord with the order that I issued on Thursday, pretty late, almost 8 o'clock in the evening on Thursday, the 3rd, advising the government that they wanted me to make a decision about what the defendant already had and what should not be disclosed and duplicated from the pre-sentence reports when I didn't know what the defendant said. I don't know how I was supposed to make the determination, but the government provided the letter, plus the letter with the witness for today with the pre-sentence reports. Now, at what point in time you expected the court was going to have time to review, and that defendant's defense counsel, I assume, was aware of it sooner than I was, because they received information by email and were working. But I certainly didn't get notice of it until I checked for my emails and saw the ECF bounce that I got. Ooh, this lady was mad because that CI just got it in right in the nick of time. But let me get back to let me get to the main point, because they fussing. But the stuff that is themselves is notified championship. That them damn CIs. Okay, because I'm gonna get it to the part when they talk about the 3,500 and what it's gonna do. Okay. Mm-mm-mm. Okay, I have a concern, and I understand that I have a concern. I gather that, Mr. Jasmine, Mr. Russell. So I want to get to the part where they talk about what the CI was trying to get. Looking at the material, just calculating. Okay. There's so much paperwork, so this is a shame. But I'm trying to get to the points, because it's a lot, y'all. Okay, so okay, so it's the man say, Your Honor, we'll be happy to supplement for the court paragraph by paragraph with cross references to the 3,500 where the materials are that have been already disclosed to the defense, and if that would facilitate things, we'll be happy to do that. Otherwise, what I can say is that with respect to the 3 cooperating witnesses, those 3 witnesses, there have been extensive disclosures in the FBI 302 reports, as well as DEA 6 reports as to the information that is in Giglio information from the PSRs. I want to get to this part when they talk about this person already got this life sentence and trying to use this 3,500. in return for something. But as y'all see, I have the paperwork for real. Okay. Okay, this paperwork's so long, y'all. They went through each. Okay, so it was about, let's see, it was in the one car, the witness cousin was in another car, separately for reported person. Hey, baby. Yes, your little Matlock. Yes, sir. He was in one car and the witness cousin was in another car separately for purported personal use. When I think that certainly would be an argument or narrative that can make, let's see. Um, I want to get to this part with this. Um, Old Terrance call coming about this Rule 3500. I mean, Rule 35. I don't think the government's argument defense. She was about 50 million pages. Let me see. Count for the way they couched this. They say that particular witness had romantic relationship and measurements. Okay. Lord, they got so many people names. They be telling God on Jesus for real. Oh, it said it goes into the cooperator's incentive for testifying. The problem is the number. Okay, here it is. Here we go. Perfect timing. Let me see if I need to go up a little bit. This is going to be everything. Here we go. So I'm just going to start here. It says the defense and Bastiano were questioned specific witnesses about their understanding of what other witnesses had gotten in order to show what they were expecting. In other words, there were some fairly notorious and infamous. Well, I got to go back up a little bit because this part is telling about how this person once. Okay, here we go. Perfect. Baby, some all of them are the feds. Trust none of them. And you so right, baby. Oh, they so the feds, baby. Talk about it. Please. Talk about it. Talk about it. They are so the feds. I used to try to tell Killa Stone all the time. That man just would not believe me. Okay, so we're gonna just start right here. Okay, here we go. Judge, if I may, the fairness attaches to the defendant. If we are not able to go into this, and Mr. Amatrudor has just given a number of scenarios, and he's not a witness here, I don't understand him to be proffering. I don't understand him to be proffering what this witness would or would not say about that because it doesn't indicate, I think, the 3,500. That's what we have. To the extent that it exists on this witness, is silent. So those are areas that we ask to go into. If we get an adverse answer, then as Your Honor indicates, we are stuck with that. But I think to say we can go into it misses the mark. And I want to just go back up a little bit because they're most definitely talking about him in this spot. She ended up dating this guy and knew he was a drug dealer. It's not like she was involved in crime. Okay, so I'm gonna start right there. So the court, Mr. Jasper, you said that you had a case that you wanted to present to the court. No, I'm squinting hard because I'm looking. It's just really a facial expression. I see it very clearly. Says Mr. Jasper, you said that you had a case that you wanted to present to the court. Why don't I do this? If defense counsel wants to submit anything additional, you do that today, and I will just reserve on that. Because I really have no case law that has been provided other than Federal Rule of Evidence 609. Judge, if I could just check my check my cell phone for a minute because I think someone from my office is calling me or whatever. Okay, she gave him a minute. So one is United States versus Blackwood. 456 F2D 528, and the jump site is 530. That's a Second Circuit case, and I think I had another case, United States versus Ronald Harvey. I think that the context of the bias never being collateral, as we say, there could be other reasons to bar it, but certainly there's a core. And the basic principle is that bias as a favorable, or let me go down a bit because I want to just get into it. I would give both sides an opportunity to provide me with something today. If the government wants to comment on these two cases that the defense has cited, if you have something else you want to cite, then I will reserve on that issue. Then, with respect to the cooperating witness and the sentence imposed on the cooperator, why should the court allow that kind of question? I mean, the instruction to the jury is that punishment is really up to the court. And as the government says, there are a lot of reasons, a lot of factors that go into court's decision and what kind of sentence it imposes, even in the situation of a cooperator's. That's right, Your Honor. I guess I have to say this issue is particularly close to me in light of some of the cases, some of the transcripts that were cited, and so perhaps I have misunderstood the government. But as I understand it, this is what we are dealing with. They claim to put on a witness who is looking for a Rule 35 letter. Rule 35 having been a motion that the government can only make to reduce the sentence that the cooperator, not any other cooperator, that cooperator on the stand has already received. So I would be asking the witness cooperator about the sentence that witness has already received. That not having been enough, the witness is now seeking a further reduction. And as the court indicated in the earlier proceeding, the instruction of cooperators is that the jury should consider that testimony with great care and scrutiny. And so in order to assess, because the government will say time and time again, think about the cooperator's motive to lie. It is in his or her best interest to, is it in his or her best interest to lie and not get the Rule 35? Well, how is the jury supposed to assess that if they don't know what the person has already got? Let's say they got 15 years or 20 years or 30 years. Now they want a Rule 35. So that what we would be saying is, look at what this cooperator got. The cooperator wants a further reduction, and they are likely to risk whatever they have to risk in order to get out from underneath the sentence they already have. Now, it could be that I'm mistaken of the government's position, but the government seems to indicate in the transcript that it cited that I want to ask, or we want to ask, the defense wants to ask the witness, cooperator, seeking the Rule 35, questions about what other cooperators have gotten. And that's not at all what we want to do here. The defense and Bastiano were questioning specific witnesses about their understanding of what other witnesses have gotten in order to show what they were expecting. In other words, there was some fairly notorious and infamous witnesses who were on the stand who had not been sentenced yet. And essentially, you're looking for a Sammy the Bull reduction, 19 bodies, 5 years. The court said, no, you can't do that because that confuses it. And I understand what you want to do. You want to get into expectation of this witness. That's not what is happening here. A witness is asking about a sentence and they want more questions. The court, why should not allow that questioning, given the context? Because, Your Honor, the concern is that as Your Honor knows, as you said, a sentence captures many different factors. And the concern is if the jury hears this witness's sentence that he received from Judge Gleason, it will extrapolate from that a conclusion about the benefits of cooperation. Generally, and simply hearing the number could never capture for the jury what the sentence is all about. But why isn't that cured by a limiting instruction from the court advising the jury exactly that? That they are not to speculate as to why the judge in that case imposed the sentence that it did, because there are many complicated factors that go into sentence, and that they are being advised of the sentence that was imposed. Only so much they can determine credibility of the witness, insofar as he may have an interest in the case with respect to any Rule 35 motion. Obviously, it would have to be carefully written, but it seems to me that how the position of the defense is that it is hard for the jury to put in context the interest of the witness in seeking a further benefit for cooperation post-conviction, post-sentence. That witness is looking for a further consideration from the court by virtue of presumably testifying truthfully and provide substantial assistance after having already been sentenced. Why isn't that an appropriate area for the jury to consider? I think certainly all of those general facts, are you already sentenced? Are you looking for a further benefit through a Rule 35 motion? All of that is entirely appropriate. It goes to the cooperator's incentives. It goes to the cooperator's incentive for testifying. So the cooperators have an incentive, okay? And when they cooperate, they get an incentive for testifying. The problem is the number. It is not inconceivable to me that a limiting instruction could be crafted, but just some of the things to think about. That cooperator just did not provide benefits to the government regarding Sean Taylor. So that number reflects not just the benefit he would seek for that cooperation, but for any other cooperation as well. It may be in a different judge's sentence differently. It may be in keeping with sentencing in his sentencing judge tended to give certain kinds of cases. Again, there are issues that are way beyond the scope of what the jury can understand. If all of that could be incorporated into a limiting instruction, then maybe we would be okay. But that is the concern that we have, that all of the extrapolation would happen and that a limiting instruction couldn't really contain that. Whereas what the defense is trying to accomplish can be accomplished without going to the number. Just going to the basic fact. You have been sentenced. There's another vehicle for which you can receive another benefit. That's a Rule 35 motion. You hope to get one, and so on. Your Honor, I'm trying to figure out why in the world I would want to go into this witness cooperation necessarily in another matter. I'm interested in the sentence that they got as a way of showing the jury what this person seeks to gain as an additional benefit. I don't have to go into everything that the government has suggested here. In fact, it would open up a number of doors that I might want to have closed. But I think, as Your Honor indicated in the question to the government, why shouldn't the jury have in front of it's the number that this person is trying to get out from under? They have to figure out whether or not it's worth it whether or not they can, based upon the arguments and evidence produced, whether or not this person is lying, because that number that they got was so high. They would have no idea whatsoever if we can't get into the sentence itself of that witness, not into any other witness. Oh my God, they wanted that number, those 100 and something life plus 200 and some years. The court. I mean, if we put this in context of an accomplice cooperating witness who has not yet been sentenced as a general matter, defense counsel asks the question, well, how much time are you facing in your case? And the plea agreement winds up usually going into evidence at the request of defense counsel. Usually there is no objection from the government. And right there in the plea agreement, there is laid out what the consequences of pleading guilty are and what the terms of the cooperation agreement are. So let's say, take the simple case of a Class A felony, drug conspiracy, and it will say the statute carries a mandatory minimum of 10 years and a maximum of life, and supervised release and a minimum of 5 years and a maximum of life. And all of that gets presented to the jury. I always kind of cringe because in the back of the juror's mind, as much as we tell them you can't think of punishment of the defendant on trial, they're probably thinking that's the same charge that the defendants on trial are facing. But you know what? We get through it and we give them charge, and amazingly enough, jurors follow the charge. So in that instance, we are telling the jury what the range of sentence is that they are facing. At the end of the case, I tell them you can't start speculating as to how much punishment anybody is going to get. And I don't see how this is really any different and why a limiting instruction just would not resolve any potential issue that there might be. So all in all, this is how Terrance got out of jail. Because he wore the wire. Timothy had already told God on Jesus to him. And then Timothy ended up pleading out. And Sean got all of the life sentences to add up to Terrance's plus. And this paperwork is so long, y'all. And I'm just gonna stop it there. But that is, I don't know what y'all looking up. I don't know what y'all looking up, what y'all looking for, but it's all here. Let him show y'all. He show y'all and tell y'all everything else. And y'all love him. Y'all giving me y'all likes and views. And let him infiltrate y'all mind and be in y'all dreams. And then come out and tell y'all that he been what he been. But yes, paperwork, I just had to come back and answer certain questions I'm going to answer. Certain ones I don't. So I've answered the question, am I a witch? I'm answering the question about the paperwork because I'm not reading any different paperwork. It all came from the original. So I just wanted to share that with y'all. We've been on here almost about an hour talking about this person really drains my energy, but it's like I said, some questions I'm going to answer. I am going to try and upload some of this for y'all if I can. And I'm going to take a nap so I can come bring my birthday. Thank y'all for listening. Y'all like, share, and subscribe because it's so funny how I bought this to y'all months ago and then everybody started bringing it up. But guess what? That guy hasn't answered that. Who's gonna? Y'all gotta be more careful. It's crazy. So I love y'all, and I'll talk to y'all later. I'm coming back in my birthday soon.